In our series of pre-election interviews, we turn to the race for City Council in District 2. Until last week, the district was represented by Bill Linehan. It includes South Boston, the South End, and Chinatown. Our guest is one of the two finalists in the election on November 7th. We'd like to welcome Head Flynn. Thank you very much for being with us, Head.
Chris, it's good to be with you.
Talk to me a little bit about your background, because these days one of the main issues out here is the abuse of opioids, and you had to deal with that in your previous work when you were a probation officer in South Boston.
Yes, I'm currently a probation officer at Suffolk Superior Court. I've been doing that job for the last 8 years. I love the job. Have an opportunity to coordinate the reentry program. 97% of people coming out of jail, out of prison, go back to the community they came from. So we want to make sure that they have the training, the access to mental health counseling, job training, employment, so that they can be productive members of their society. Governor Patrick, the state legislature, did a great job on Corey reform, but I think it could go. It didn't go far enough. I know some of the state legislators are doing some more work on it. I would support that. But generally speaking, Boston, the state and the country has a terrible opiate problem. I've seen it firsthand as a probation officer. I've seen it in my neighborhood. I've been to so many wakes and funerals of young people overdosed. But we need access to detox beds. We need access to residential programs, long-term residential programs. And then when these young people get out of these residential programs, helping them, making sure that they're able to function in society, get them into a job training, get them into training, get them into health care, mental health counseling. It takes everybody to help these people. They're our family, they're our brothers, they're our sisters, they're our cousins. Every family has someone that is dealing with an opiate problem, and we're also a compassionate city. We want to make sure that those suffering from substance abuse have the treatment that they need and deserve.
One of the other things that you want to see is a restoration of the programs on Long Island. It sounds like a tall order.
Well, I would, as a probation officer, I would go over there frequently, at least once a week. And I knew the bridge needed to be shut many years ago. It was dangerous, actually passing over. I think Mayor Walsh made the right move, the courageous move to shut the bridge. And then the services coming out of Long Island that are now in that BU Medical Center area. There's excellent drug treatment programs there. So I credit the mayor for working hard on a very tough issue. But I'd also like to see the drug treatment program centralized in a location such as Long Island. I do have a plan, to reopen the facility. It would include a ferry service several times a day going over there until a bridge may be built. I know the bridge might cost $150 million, but I'd like to see infrastructure of the existing buildings in Long Island. I'd like to see a partnership with the BU Medical Center in the City of Boston, Department of Public Health. I talked to experts and professionals throughout the city on this. And I'd also like to see a medical presence there, better medical care over there. And I think it could work. And, I've been advocating for that. But there are other good programs also, other good options also, such as the Shattuck Hospital. But this is my program. I read in the newspaper today that there's thousands of needles we're finding across the city every day. We have a terrible drug problem in our society. It's not just Boston, it's not just the state, it's the country. Everybody needs to get involved and be part of the solution. And again, I think the mayor is doing a very good job on this issue. I'd like to be part of it. I have real experience working on that issue as a probation officer for the last 8 years.
Well, one thing I want to press you a bit more on that is that as opposed to looking for other locations in the neighborhoods on the city's mainland, what's the advantage of taking people out to Long Island?
I think it's a structured residential program. The services are located right in the same area. They would need to be upgraded, and they would need to make sure that everybody works together. How will we pay for it is the question people ask me. Well, pilot. payment in lieu of taxes, these colleges, universities, and hospitals. They would need to get on board and be part of the solution. Linkage, we're building so many luxury condos over the last 25 years, a booming economy here in Boston. That could be part of the solution. I know there's a tax for car rentals that would be used for the expansion of the BCEC. I think this is a critical issue of the opiate problem we're having. I'd love to see some of that funding be used for Long Island. But more importantly, to help our people deal with drug treatment, get drug treatment on demand. Whether it's at Long Island or it's another location, I know Councilor Anissa George is doing great work on it. Obviously, the mayor is doing great work on it. But I'd love to be part of that. As I said, I've been dealing with this issue for 8 years as a probation officer at Suffolk Superior Court. I'm up at South Boston Courthouse on Monday nights, also talking to young people. And in my neighborhood in South Boston, we have a terrible drug problem. And there's so many great people doing some great work, and I'd like to continue to be part of that.
This is BNN News, and we're talking with Ed Flynn, candidate for City Council in District 2. Ed, in this district, which is South Boston, South End, Chinatown, there have been some areas that have been described recently as sort of underdeveloped, and now the city is trying to allow more housing in those areas, and they do happen to be near rapid transit. But I guess you say there's also some overdevelopment. Well, what's the difference between the stuff that we need and the overdevelopment?
Well, I see a lot of overdevelopment, mostly over the last 20, 25 years, building luxury condos after luxury condos. I don't think we needed to do that. We needed to build workforce housing. We needed to build affordable housing, some housing for our elderly. Boston has one of the highest income inequality levels of any city in the country. Here you have the Seaport area in South Boston. Great wealth, great concentration of wealth. Half a mile away is Chinatown with a lot of great poverty. Half a mile away is West Broadway public housing, or Old Colony public housing, or Villa Victoria, which also has great poverty in many of those areas. But I think we need to make sure that everybody is benefiting in the Boston economy. We need to make sure we link the city with the Boston economy transportation-wise. We need a better transportation system, working with state, local, and federal officials, rapid bus transportation from certain areas, including South Boston, right to the South Station. Dudley is not in my district. It's not part of District 2, but I think that's one of the bus meccas really in the city. That could also play a key role to make sure that people in the Roxbury area and the South End area also are benefiting in the Boston economy. But we need to make sure that they're trained, they're educated. We need to focus on school to career, making sure our young people can get jobs in the economy, and also that they have transportation to get there as well.
More of the city's housing stock is being used for short-term rentals such as Airbnb. You've looked into this. What do you think should be done to control it or even tap it as a source of revenue?
Yeah, I went on a walking tour last week with the Chinese Progressive Political Action, and they're actually supporting me in my campaign. But I believe there's over 100 Airbnbs in the Chinatown area alone. A lot of them are corporate companies that are buying buildings and using them exclusively for Airbnbs. They're displacing a lot of these hardworking elderly Chinese residents. So I think we need to regulate them, especially the corporate companies that are buying up this property. We need to regulate them. They need to pay their fair share of taxes. They have hotels basically, but we need to make sure that there are safety conditions, health conditions, they're registered, they're not displacing people, and one unit for one house. That's what I'd like to see, not just major companies buying up huge buildings and using the whole building for Airbnb. There has to be some regulation. They also have to pay their fair share of taxes. Everybody is paying their fair share of taxes in the city of Boston. So shouldn't these Airbnb companies, and they're making millions and millions of dollars off the backs of the poor people of the city.
One problem that the city has been struggling with for many years is the quality of the district high schools. Even the mayor has been saying that we got to do better. What do you think should be done about that?
I went to a technical high school at Don Bosco, and it was a great high school. I know Madison Park Technical High School is struggling, unfortunately. It should be one of the best high schools in the city. I'd love to help bring the building trades or bring these great companies into Madison Park to help our students get jobs, get training, get jobs, so that they're able to benefit in the Boston economy. Teach them skills, get them an education so that they can get a job. Also, Mayor Walsh has a great plan using our community colleges, Roxbury Community College, Bunker Hill Community College, making sure we educate our young students on the jobs in the Boston economy. And you know, I have a son that's in the school system here in Boston. He's at Josiah Quincy School. He's receiving an excellent education, and I want to make sure every student also receives an excellent education in the city. And I'm also proud to have received the endorsement from the Boston Teachers Union as well.
And I know you've got a lot more details on your issues and endorsements. You've got a website where people can find that? Yeah,
edforboston.com, and I'm proud of the support I have. Chinese Progressive Political Action, Local 26, the Mass Nurses, and many labor unions across the city. Steve Tompkins endorsed me because he knows I'm going to be a strong leader on criminal justice reform as well.
Thank you very much for being with us.
Thank you, Chris.
Ed Flynn, candidate for Boston City Council in District 2. In a moment, we'll talk with a candidate for Councilor at Large.